your farm? Like, how big is it? Like, what do you like? How much do you grow? What else do you do there? Like, all that kind of stuff.
Well, our farm is really, really cool because it is 160 acres, but we only farm about 50 of that. So 50 acres is planted in a bunch of different fields. We've named them things like Gemini, Anastasia, Euphoria, the tip. It's just the tip of the land, so it's not a big deal. And we have a river running through the land, which is really cool. So it is definitely part business in that there is the farming aspect of it, but it's also part play. And the reason that we wanted to find a piece of land that was exactly like that is because we are big believers in community, bringing community out, letting people play in fun spaces. And that's what we have. We have forests to run through. We've got trails through those forests. We've got marshlands to go, getting your feet wet in. We've got the river with the little beach that we built so people come and swim. Nice. And there's lots of camping spaces so people come and bring their tents and spend a weekend, spend a week, spend 5 months sometimes. We've got all sorts of cool things that are always happening. So a lot of people like to come out because it's a place to play. If you want to build something, you can build something. If you want to get your hands dirty, you can.
That sounds like a pretty great place to be be honest. And yeah, I can't believe I haven't gone over there sooner and hung out since you're just down the road. Do you guys have a hill that we can go sledding on?
Yes, we do, and a pond at the bottom for skating on.
Oh man, we're totally coming over. Yeah, I've been itching to do some sledding. So yeah, that's pretty freaking great. How much hemp do you guys grow, and like, what do you do with it?
Well, we grow, as Megan said, about 50, 60 acres, minus the few acres that get taken out by hail and drought and too much rain and all the things that come over the hill these days. And then with that hemp, we separate the flower, biomass, bud, whatever you call it, from the seed. We sell that to LPs who make, CBD medicine and stuff. And then we take the seed, and through our other company, 5M, Fifth Meridian Hemp, we upvalue it into hemp coffee, hemp seeds, hemp oil, lots of common cool hemp stuff. So that was always a vision for us, was to have our own like hemp hearts and hemp oil. So the seed is the root kind of product for most of that stuff because it's very nutritious. It's high in protein, omega-3, 6s, and 9s. And so we make food products essentially from the hemp seeds. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I'm actually drinking your hemp coffee right now, and it's pretty good. I like it. We should drop a link at some point for more of that stuff for our viewers later. We'll probably drop that in with the recording so that people know where to find you and all that kind of stuff.
And to let people know what hemp coffee is, because they always get what is hemp coffee? I'm sure some of you might be thinking that. What we have found is we roast the hemp seeds and we roast coffee separately, and then we bring them together into a beverage. So it's like coffee, but it's a little cooler because you get omegas and protein. And it's like half hemp, so it's half local, and it tastes really nice. It's a little less caffeine too, so a lot of people like it that way. So, yeah.
And so your hemp hearts, you just make cereals with them and all that kind of stuff, or?
Well, the hemp hearts. Yeah, you want to go grab those? Because a lot of people say sprinkle hemp hearts on this and sprinkle hemp hearts on that, and I personally want to change that conversation to don't just sprinkle hemp hearts, eat hemp hearts. We eat hemp hearts on just about anything. These are our hemp hearts, and they are a little bit nutty. So what's nice about that is you can put them on savory. What's nice about it is you can put it on savory things, so you can crust your meat with it because it's got that nutty flavor. I throw it on, like if I'm doing pasta instead of a pesto, instead of using nuts in a pesto, you can use this. You can use it anywhere. I do toast in the morning with a little bit of honey and a thick layer of this. And it's 1/3 protein and 1/3 omega-3s and 6s in perfect balance. So it's like an egg if eggs were way, way, way better for you, like even better for you than eggs are, then that's what this is. And then you can put it on sweet things. So if you think about a yogurt parfait or you think about whatever. So when people say, how much do you eat a day? I say about this much. I eat 2, good handfuls worth. And yeah, it gives me the energy to farm hemp by hand.
It doesn't hurt that we have a good supply of the hemp hearts.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
So you farm by hand, you just said. So you don't use equipment, or explain that a little bit more.
Well, we do use some equipment.
Yeah, we try to use more like rudimentary hippie methods, if you will. Not that we're opposed to technology or burning diesel to do stuff, because there's obviously leverage in technology. But we've found you can cultivate more community, you can have more of a hands-on, nature-based experience if you get out there and do a little bit of planting by hand, a little bit of harvesting by hand. And that's essentially how we do it at the Hempery. So it's not tractor-driven, it's tractor-supported. So, yeah.
Yeah, and getting out there and harvesting is one of the things that people especially love coming out for, because basically you get out into the field, you've got a bucket, and you just go along pulling off hemp buds and putting it in the bucket. And some of these hemp buds are like size of your arm. They're massive, so it's just this really gratifying experience, and it smells amazing, and you've got your best friends beside you, and you're all having the best time and singing songs and getting into the greatest conversations. And so it's a really nice moment to be out there harvesting, and especially when you know harvest is going to last for a month and a half, 2 months, you can really get into it and settle into it. It's nice, and everybody gets a 6-pack, so
Yeah, that's what you get at the end of harvest. That's your gift from the universe.
Sounds like I'm gonna have to come over and help you guys harvest and do some
Right?
planting. Yeah. So you guys have planting parties and harvest parties, and just bring over a bunch of people and help you out then? How many people?
We've learned that like cultivating community is really what we're after. Like the hemp is actually just the vehicle to get us there. And so part of what we do to cultivate that community is we have what we call symphonies. And the idea of the symphonies is people are working together kind of where they want to be, doing what they want to do, and together everything gets done. So we do that a lot in the spring where we plant, and then in the harvest time we do lots of shucking of the buds like Megan suggested, and then we also process the hemp, and someone's cooking and someone's watching the kids, and all that's happening at the same time. It's a lot of fun.
Cool. How many people do you say would come out on an average day for some of that kind of stuff? I'm just curious.
well, it really depends on the weather. You know, if it's raining, less. But if it's a nice sunny day, if it's a beautiful sunny weekend, then we get, 20s. Like I remember Carlton Gruger and his wife Rachel showed up once, Gruger Family Fungi, and they showed up with a market table and they piled it high with mushroom products. And they managed to sell a lot of these beautiful oyster mushrooms and mushroom tinctures and all of these different potions. It was absolutely amazing. But they had a successful market just because there was enough people at the Hempery to buy that much stuff. So
That's pretty impressive.
there's definitely lots of people there when we're having people.
Yeah. And then if it snows and it's rainy, like a couple people show up. That's when the diehards show up, like us. So, but we like to be fair weather farmers, and we found that if you just work with the weather and know when it's coming and going, inside chores on crappy days, outside chores on sunny days, and it's awesome that way. Just get in the flow of nature.
Yeah. That's pretty exciting. For you that are just joining us, I just want to recap on what's going on here. This is New Paradigm Hemp Farm, or the Hempery rather, and we're just talking about their hemp farm and all the cool stuff that they do over there. So thanks for joining us. And yeah, one of the things that I'd really like to ask is, what kind of machinery do you use to process your hemp? Do you have like a factory that happens, or you guys just use like old threshing techniques and just beat it all together or something like that? Because that's kind of what I imagine, all these people laying out these tarps and just beating together everything with sticks.
Well,
No one gets beaten.
the first part about harvesting is when we pull in the buds, a lot of the time there's a lot of moisture in them. So we actually have 16-foot tall drying racks that we have in the Quonset, and there's heated floors in there. And so we get some heat blasting, we've got dehumidifiers going, and you actually get to climb up the racks to put the buds on the racks. So that's my favorite part of it. I love climbing the racks. I love being up there. I love being up high, and
It's called being a ninja.
Yeah, we call it being a ninja. It's nothing but hemp. Once it's dry, it comes off, and it goes into what's called the grinding machine, which isn't so much of a machine as a screen with humans grinding 50 acres of hemp. You do this a lot.
Eurodance music helps get getting it into the
Yeah, but once again, working those arms, so it's a full body workout to be at the
supporting
Hempery.
that 6-pack abs that you've been
Yeah.
building. Right.
And so once we've ground all of the hemp, then we have it in these huge wooden boxes, and then from there,
It goes through the rolling machine. Imagine that. After you grind it, you roll it. So we have a rolling machine that's just really slow rotisserie roll on an angle about 20 degrees, and then the biomass comes down there and it sifts out kind of the A grade flour or whatever. And then after the rolling machine, it goes into, you guessed it,
The zigzag.
right? So we grind, we roll it, and then we zigzag it.
And the zigzag is a forced air vacuum machine. So basically, the rest of the flour, our coarser flour, falls one way, and then all of the seeds fall down relatively clean the other way through kind of a zigzag.
And the zigzag machine is cool. Like in the hemp industry, like the zigzag machine is like quite legendary. And it's simple. You just create a zigzag, and then the seeds, which are heavier, they fall, and then the biomass gets sucked over by a vacuum. So we grind it, we roll it, we zigzag it, then we bag it up, and then we sell it. And we kind of dance to your own music as we go.
How much do you guys produce last year, or like sell and all that kind of stuff? I'm just really curious on the scale of what 50 acres can produce based off these hand methods and having a lot of fun in the process, it sounds like.
We generally get about 30 acres of good harvest because we've had some drought, we've had some fallow areas of the land, hail, all the rest of it. And off that, we get probably around 10,000 pounds, give or take. And that's a mix of seed and flour, depending on, how big the buds get and stuff. So in the big picture, we're quite small, like compared to, your 4 plants in your basement, that's a lot. But compared to some of these other hemp farms and traditional farming, that's quite small. But we've focused on being like a craft hempery. Because we've realized that in the industry of hemp, you can either be the big guy, the Aurora, or you could be the small guy and really create that craft brand around yourself. So we've kind of gone the craft route, keeping it kind of rudimentary, keeping it fun, keeping it low tech, that sort of thing.
We just got a few new viewers if you want to welcome them.
Oh yeah, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Marmalade Lounge. My name's Levi. This is Megan and Luke, and we're just chatting about hemp. If you have any questions, please ask us a question and drop it in the chat line. We'd love to hear from you, and tell us where you're from in the process. Having
Maybe something we could share with people is like just hemp versus non-hemp.
Yeah.
People get confused about
yeah. Let's tell me a little bit more about that.
So, especially in Canada here, they've started calling MJ or marijuana, which is a word that's no longer used. They're starting to call it cannabis. And then there's hemp or industrial hemp. But that's very confusing because hemp is actually a form of cannabis. MJ and hemp, which is defined as 0.3 THC or below, they're both forms of cannabis. So there can be some confusion in the marketplace because hemp kind of is cannabis, but yet people say hemp or cannabis. So we grow hemp, which is also known as kind of low THC cannabis. It's more outside. It's not going to get you high, that sort of thing. It's exciting, but it's just not exciting in that way. So.
Yeah, it's actually really an interesting plant because its Latin name is Cannabis sativa, which I'm sure a lot of people know the word sativa. Sativa actually means not found naturally. It means that it's always, any example they've ever found of cannabis has been genetically altered by man through breeding. There is no pure natural forms of cannabis anymore. Even the stuff that you see growing wild is there because somebody at some point planted cannabis, and of course it changes over time. So in fact, both hemp and MJ, they're all cannabis sativa. And the reason a lot of people say, well, what about indica? Well, it is all cannabis sativa actually because of the way that it can interbreed with each other. If you think about a horse and a donkey, what do they make?
An ass.
Yeah, a mule, exactly, an ass. And an ass make nothing. They can't breed. So if you take hemp and you take MJ and you put them together, they make something new. And that can keep breeding. So it is still all the same plant. It's just different characteristics that have been bred out through that. So like, for example, if you look up the Latin name of cucumber, I would invite anybody to do that. I think that its name is sativus because again, there is no natural form of cucumber anymore. It's all been bred.
Yeah. And different places have, really it's the governments and the people who control cannabis that have defined the line between hemp and MJ. Here in Canada, it's 0.3. In Kentucky, for example, in America, it's 0.5. The Dakota Nation, they use 1%. So it's kind of this floating line of THC that defines industrial hemp from MJ. So, if you weren't confused before, maybe you are now.
Well, if you are, you should ask some questions. And we can make sure that we clarify that. I had a question. I can't quite remember what it was. It was a good one though. So with your like, you make oils and as well with your hemp and hydrosol. What's hydrosol? Tell me more about that.
A lot of people know of things like rose water or witch hazel water. These are hydrosol. Hydrosol means water solution. So you've basically steamed the plant, you're getting out the terpenes and essential oils. And we've found that the hemp hydrosol, it's like really cool. It's a skin toner, which is awesome, but it also works as a digestive tonic. So it's going into your bowel system, dissolving solids, aka CRAP, that's maybe been clogged in there, especially in your sphincter between the small and large intestines. And it dissolves that stuff, and you could imagine that moving through you in a nice fluid way. And then what's more exciting is it leaves your digestive tract more clean, more awake, more cleaned out and aware. So some people are having, awakening and consciousness connections related to that. And more likely you're just having more nutrition from your food coming into the body, more awareness. When you eat crappy food, you can really feel it. And it makes you regular plus.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff. We talk about it a lot at the farm.
Yeah.
Too much. We had to ban it at the dinner table talking about hydrosol.
Yeah, we call them hydrosol moments. Where's Levi? Oh, he's having a hydrosol moment. He'll be right back.
Oh man, that sounds pretty personal sometimes. Actually, I remembered the question I was going to ask you. Governmental regulations and that kind of stuff in the hemp industry around here. What have you guys faced on that? What have you seen for changes, and what do you guys foresee for changing in the future?
Well, there's definitely a lot to say about that. I am the license holder for new Paradigm Hempery. So basically what that means is I can personally grow as much hemp in Alberta as I could possibly want to, which is really exciting. What's less exciting is the process of applying to become a license holder. Basically, it takes months to do. It's a pretty long form. It gets pretty intensive. Half the time you don't know what they're really asking for, and so you apply for it, they get back to you. I personally got my license 3 days before planting, and I know a lot of farmers this year I applied in February, and a lot of farmers were applying, let's say February, March, and they didn't get their licenses in time to plant. So it's been difficult for a lot of people. After that, of course, we have the license to hold the flower material, but we can't legally do anything with it. We can sell it to people who can legally do something with it, which is a little bit ridiculous, because if we did make something with it, it'd be a CBD oil, and CBD oil can't get you high. It just kind of helps with your aches and pains. So right now there's been frustration in the industry because a lot of people would love to be making craft CBD, but it's very, very difficult to get the license to do that. And when I say very, very difficult, I mean almost impossible. You have to have millions and millions of dollars and know the right people if you even want to have a hope of doing it. So it's definitely a little bit frustrating. We had the cops called on us once because somebody trespassed on our land, and they said that we had 200 cannabis plants, which the cops came and said, there's more than 200 cannabis plants and they are industrial hemp. So there's still a lot of misconceptions out there as well that just kind of bring in things like law enforcement that we don't need to be dealing with.
And that's a common problem that people have faced, because it looks, especially in its like late flowering, it looks like MJ. It has similar terpene profiles to MJ because it's a form of cannabis. It's really not that much different. Overall, legislation and regulations have been pretty tricky, and they are one of the biggest challenges. Hemp also being attached to MJ brings all the uncertainty, all the sketchiness, all the gray, black, whiteness of the MJ market really right up beside you. So, it does have some challenges. That's why some farmers have stayed away from it, because they're just like, why do I need a license for this plant? I don't need a license for my barley. And that's a great point. But, somebody does make those decisions. It's, I guess, one step higher up. So we just kind of roll with it, and we try to be compliant and go from there.
Awesome. I think we got a question from somebody. I just want to check.
Says I like the stuff you guys are up to.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, friend. Thanks for joining us. Do you have any questions? Ask them a cool question, and they'll probably answer you.
Well, and I'll speak to that because, one of the things that Megan and I tried to do is we wanted to be an example of cool stuff you could do with hemp. So first thing was, let's grow it. Okay, great. Now what? And then we did things like the hemp hearts, which you saw, the hemp coffee, which Levi's drinking. We have the hydrosol. We have cold pressed oil. So we wanted to create cool stuff from the hemp so people could see that and be like, well, maybe I'll grow some hemp and maybe I'll make something cool out of it. You know, like we don't do t-shirts, we don't do clothing, we don't do biodiesel, we don't do the other 42,000 things you can do with hemp, but maybe other people can do that. That's an invitation to everybody. So.
Well, and it's amazing that we've gotten this far without talking about the 42,000 other things that you can do with hemp, because, you know, the claim to fame with hemp people, and I think that there was a South Park episode about this actually, is that once you're a hemp person, everything you have is suddenly hemp. Hey, this cup was made out of hemp.
These are hemp socks.
Yeah.
These are hemp pants.
Yeah, exactly. And you start, oh, my mat over here is made out of hemp and my car is made out of hemp. But the reality is, the cool thing about hemp is that it can do anything because it can be made into plastic pretty easily. We have a friend who has a 3D printer and she has hemp filament, so she can make anything in the world out of hemp. It biodegrades a lot more easily than petroleum plastics. It's a lot more eco-friendly, and hemp grows like a weed. So it's, you know, there's a lot of stuff that can really happen with hemp once that starts coming in a little bit more.
And the world is just waking up to the fact that hemp can replace things like oil and gas. And if you study the history of hemp and cannabis, which is quite a dark history, you'll find that once the lumber companies had control and partnerships with the government around the 30s, that was around the same time that hemp and hemp cars, like Henry Ford's first or one of his last Model Ts, kind of went away. So there's definitely kind of a battle happening on that level, and we hope that hemp will come in to create more biodegradable, earth-friendly materials versus the destructive oil and gas industry.
So you guys did mention that you have a tractor and you don't do any biodiesel. Do you guys foresee doing biodiesel in the future to maintain your farm's needs and do all that kind of stuff?
We would love to do biodiesel. Biodiesel is one of the funnest, exciting things that hemp can do. We haven't gotten there yet, more or less, because we've just done things like the coffee and whatever else. But we do plan to get there sooner than later. It's kind of the transition between gas, diesel cars and electric cars, which is what they should all be. And so biodiesels is the transition. So we hope to transition there over the next 5 years for sure. Yeah, but we're not there yet.
Awesome. I'm really curious to what else you got in that box over there.
We got cold pressed oil.
Oh, this is one of the best things ever. You can use it to cook with. There was a German study done that said that it can go up to 250 degrees, which we do cook with it. I use it to moisturize my legs, which in these dry Alberta winters is nice because I have, nice legs, not to, puff myself up at all. And I keep a little bottle of it in my purse because whenever I get a little bit hungry, that hour before you're actually going to eat, when you're just starving, I take a shot of this and I feel great. I'm a big believer that people should eat fats. Fats do not make you fat.
Good fats keep you from getting fat, in fact.
Yeah, so when I'm doing a lot of hemp oil, which I try to do a lot, I'm a hemp farmer, my skin gets better, my hair gets better, everything just feels better.
What else we got in the box? Protein.
I'll let you talk about the protein.
Well, protein's cool because everyone likes protein. Hemp originally had a lot of problems coming to market, particularly in Canada because of a Manitoba harvest, because of the protein factor. It's 1/3 protein, which is more than a lot of low-grade meats like bologna and stuff like that. And there's also balanced omegas 3, 6s, and 9s, making it a complete animal protein. The only thing that else can make that claim is quinoa. So just really healthy, the hemp seed. And this is like before you even get into the flour, before the CBD, before anything else, before the stock that can make cellulose into cars. It's just all coming from the seed. So it's just super healthy, super nutritious. And that's part of why we decided to make cool products from it, because we love them, we eat them, we're healthier because of it, our friends are healthier, and who doesn't want to be healthier?
Yeah, when we're working at farmers markets, sometimes people will come up and they'll say, why should I be eating hemp? And I say, well, buy a small bag, eat 3 tablespoons a day for a week, and then come back and buy more. And they said, well, what'll it do? And I say, you'll see. And then they come back in a week and they buy more, because I don't know what they needed, but maybe their digestion has improved a lot. Maybe, their skin, their eczema is starting to clear up. Who knows what problem they had, but usually if people eat 3 tablespoons a day for a week, they notice a big difference.
Yeah, it brings up another thing I've noticed is that because of the prohibition of hemp and the industrial hemp and how that all happened, we don't have that much as a food source as traditionally and throughout history would have had that as a food source. We would have also had CBD being eaten by cows and cattle and pigs, and then we would have been having those as a CBD source as well because other animals would have been eating it. Would you say that there's definitely a correlation with how sick people have gotten in the last 100 years and the lack of this plant in their diet?
Oh, absolutely. And I have a lot to say. Oh man, I have a lot to say about that. But if you look back, even Queen Victoria, who a lot of people think of as like a really stodgy old lady, she took cannabis oil every single day. It was, up until its prohibition, it was the most prescribed drug on the planet, and for good reason. You have in your body, alongside your nervous system, what's called an endocannabinoid system. And your endocannabinoid system has all of these little receptors, and when those receptors are filled, then everything fires more smoothly, and your body can communicate a lot more easily. And a lot of people don't have their cannabinoid receptors filled because they are not taking in any cannabis. And I'm not saying that you have to smoke a joint a day or anything like that. In fact, that's not even the best way to do it at all.
Yeah.
But something like eating hemp leaves. A hemp leaf salad is lovely. I'm one of the only people in Alberta who can legally eat a hemp salad, which is too bad. But it's really, really seriously good for you. And juicing hemp leaves, that used to be very, very common to consume that. It used to be very common for farmers to make their own CBD oil. All of these things just used to be regular. And then when Prohibition came in, it got so demonized. And yeah, I know that a lot of people, especially we have a lot of older people that come by the booths at the farmers markets, and they all have a story. They say, I used to have the worst arthritis. I could barely get out of bed. I couldn't close my hands. And after I started taking CBD, suddenly my life improved. And, now I'm climbing mountains and all of these other things. And you really see the way that quality of life improves. And a lot of people say, well, no, cannabis, it's not that much of a wonder drug. Like, it's just, stoners getting all excited and always wanting to, promote, and they just want to get high. And it's like, no, because your endocannabinoid system is tied to so many different things, sometimes when you do start taking cannabis, it actually does improve a lot of different things because you were just dysregulated to begin with in so many ways. So it's not necessarily this overblown miracle drug. It's just something that you should have been consuming to begin with, and maybe you would have been healthier all along had you been.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like it's just this missing element that we've been missing for a long time, and now that it's coming back, people are seeing profound results, as you're seeing. We've got a question from Jason Thomas in there. He wants to come and hang out with you guys and wants to know where you can get your stuff. So you can get it from m5hemp.com. 5mhemp.com. The link is at the bottom. And Jason, they live down the road from us, so you should just come and hang out with them because you know where we are.
And to Jason and to those out there who maybe want to come visit the hemp farm. Now, obviously, if you're not in our area, don't fly across the world to come visit our hemp farm. Go visit a hemp farm near you.
Someone else says show the products a little slower next time.
And so, yeah, we have a pretty open door policy. As we talked about earlier, we do symphonies in the spring and fall, which are by far the most exciting times to see that planting and get involved, or to witness that harvesting and be involved in that. So if that's something that interests you guys, NP Hempery, as in New Paradigm, but just N and P and then hempery.com. That's our website. Email us there and invite yourself. Say, hey, I want to come out. And if you want to support the products, 5mhemp.com. We ship to anywhere, and by supporting the products and getting them out there, we're getting more hemp into people's hands, and that helps us come back again for another year of hemp farming. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I just saw what Jason just messages back that he's probably going to join you guys for a symphony there and hang out and come, go swim. He's a pretty cool guy. You'll like him a lot. Welcome everyone to the Marmalade Lounge, and this is New Paradigm Hempery, and this is Megan and Luke, and we're just talking about cool stuff. Make sure that you drop us some questions if there's anything that we missed that you're curious about, and also just tell us where you're from in the process. I would like to hear from you. So we've touched on regulation, we've touched on some more of the products. There's actually more products in that box. I want to know more about those things. Oh, the hydrosol, the fancy hydrosol. This is like that Oh, digestive tonic. I'm gonna put this close to the camera for you guys. Can you tell us about this again for the people that are just joining us?
Well, it's a digestive tonic, so it's a mild cleanse. Of all the products we have, they're all awesome. The Hydrosol is the only one that people call us at 2 a.m. with their voice a little bit racy, saying, "I need some more Hydrosol." People love the coffee and the oil, but they generally send us an email or call us during business hours. The Hydrosol is different, and that's because it works in a way that is quite miraculous. It cleans out your digestive tract, often shedding a few pounds on the way. Most people tend not to get upset about that. And then it leaves you more activated in your digestion. The root of all health is your digestion, arguably. And so having a more activated digestion leaves you healthier and then leaves you more aware of what you're eating and allows you to get more out of that. Megan's talked about her hair. Like, her hair's grown crazy since she's been doing Hydrosol.
Yeah, no, the first week that I was taking Hydrosol, I dropped 5 pounds worth of crap, literally. And since I've been taking it for about 2 months now, I've noticed that my nails are stronger and my hair is growing faster. I've gotten comments like, "Oh, has your hair always been this long?" And it's like, well, usually it breaks before it can get to any sort of length, but this is the first time I've been able to grow my hair this long. And part of it is just because, number one, all of the hemp in my diet, but number two, I'm getting the nutrients from my food. Because usually as my food would pass through, it would, there'd be stuff blocking the way. And now basically anytime I eat anything, if it's not healthy, I know as soon as I've swallowed it, I can feel it in my digestion. So it's helping keep me more accountable because I, get that immediate feedback. And yeah, it's revolutionized everything. And we get people that, especially kids. When I was a kid, I had the worst digestion, and it was something that my parents always struggled with. They were always taking me to the doctor, and the doctor would say, more liquids, more fiber, and nothing worked. And so we had a mother get a hold of us recently and say, my daughter's having poor digestion, and I was like, Hydrosol. And so she's one of the ones that called and said, I need more because nothing has worked, but Hydrosol has worked. It's exciting stuff.
Yeah, exciting.
And so if any of that speaks to you, I highly recommend getting a hold of us, get a hold of some Hydrosol because it changes people's lives. It's changed my life.
Yeah, and if you don't know what to get your family and all that kind of stuff, there's some great Christmas gifts and all this stuff, especially the coffee, and that tastes great. I'm drinking some now. So if you want to support these guys, definitely check them out. They got some really cool stuff. Thanks everyone again for joining us. I'm gonna drink some more of this coffee because it's great.
Yeah, and we're just a local craft hempery, and if you're not in the Calgary or Alberta area, super encourage you to find some people growing hemp in your area and go help them harvest or go help them plant. It's a miraculous plant. It grows across the world, and it can be helpful in making cool stuff in your area. So help the Hemp Revolution get going and support the hempsters in your area. And if we're in your area, come hang out with us. We'd love to meet you and do hemp stuff. So, yeah.
I see more stuff in the box.
It's another protein.
Oh, more protein. That's all right.
A different grind of protein. Yeah.
Another grind. We all like a bit of a grind around here, especially with our hemp. All right. Is there anything else special about you guys that you'd really like to share that I think I've missed or anything like that?
Well, I think something that's a little bit special about us is before now, neither of us had a farming background. I was not raised on a farm. I didn't particularly know very many farmers very well. And Luke's story is about the same thing, that neither of us, grew up exposed to farming. And so when we decided to become hemp farmers, we kind of had to say to ourselves, you're a farmer now, because Luke teaches yoga, I'm a school teacher, so it was a little bit of a leap. But if you are interested in getting into hemp farming, we can say from experience, as far as farming experiences go, it's a little bit gentle. If the seed is near the ground, it wants to grow. I've seen it growing out of a dandelion. The more stressed it gets, the bigger it wants to be. It's an amazing plant. I've done experiments in the fields where if you go out and you grab the plant and you give it a good shake and you run your hands along it, the flower gets bushier, it gets bigger, it gets better, there's more CBD in it. One of our advantages we have in Alberta is as the crops get stressed by things like, I don't know, September snows, for example, they get even more CBD and they get even bigger and badder. I remember once waking up to 6 inches of snow on the plants and they had just gotten greener. And when that snow melted, they continued to grow. So if you are interested in getting into farming, you've always wanted to be on the land, maybe you're even one of the ones who say, hey, we should get a big plot of land and, you know, all of our friends can live there. You know, you've probably heard that before. Hemp is kind of a way to do that because it does bring economy to the land, and it's nice to have a farming background, but we know from experience you don't need a farming background. Spending lots of time researching is kind of enough to pull this one off.
That's actually really cool. Do you have any advice for anybody that would want to get into hemp farming, even locally or even abroad, just to get started?
I think you always have to dance around your local regulations. That's one of the sad parts of hemp is, for whatever reason, unlike barley and strawberries, it's been over-controlled by governments, and that's because there's medicine in it, and they like to control medicine, but that's a conversation maybe for another day. But yeah, get in touch with people like us, like send us an email or find local hemp farmers. They're like out there. People like us are budding and blooming all over the place. Find your local hempsters and jam with them. And if there are no local hempsters, just become the local hempster. And it's as simple as putting seeds in the ground. Like Megan says, it wants to grow even out of dandelion sometimes. So let it grow, give it space, love it up, and yeah, have some fun with it and do one of the 50,000 things it can do, or do a couple of them like we have.
So you've told us what you do with the bud and the plant matter. You send that off to get CBD made out of it with the LPs, which is the legal producers for anyone that's viewing that don't know. That's what we call them here in Canada, is the people that are actually allowed to make stuff with the cannabis products they do medicinal stuff for you. And then you also do stuff with the hemp seed. And what do you do with the shiv and the stalk that's left over? Do you guys do anything with that, or?
Well, some of our byproduct we sell to Gruger Family Fungi, and they grow their amazing fungi on it because hemp is really, really high in lignin, which is the same thing that is in wood. So what the mad scientists that they are, figured out is that you can actually grow a lot of mushrooms that would grow on wood on hemp. And it's a better product because they're not getting all of the toxins that wood has. And it's absolutely beautiful. So they are our preferred person to sell it to, just because I love the idea in my heart of mushrooms growing on the hemp. We also sell a good amount of it as animal feed, which maybe Luke can talk about that.
Yeah, like the reality is the weakest part of the hemp industry is the utilization of the stalk, which is the cellulose, the long strand fibers, that sort of stuff. But that's mostly because there's not a lot of industry right now. There's no like hemp shirt factories. There's very few biodiesel, these sorts of things. So we've found that because we live in, kind of cow country and critter country in Alberta, there's twice as many cows as people, that we've been able to sell it as feed. That works pretty well. But we hope more and more in the future to sell it to people who will upvalue it into rope or clothing or pulp to maybe make toilet paper, so we don't have to use old growth forests to do that. So those are all the hopes for the future, plastic. But for now, we just kind of sell some of it as feed and some of it as mushroom feed, I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. That also opens up the doors for anyone locally, I guess, that wants to make stuff from hemp but doesn't necessarily have the resources to grow it or want to grow it, but have wanted a source. They're right here, everyone. So come and say hello to them. You can find them on their website, or even just say hello in the chat. You can do that too. Is there anything like toilet paper you've mentioned, getting that biodiesel going? All really exciting things. Yeah, I'm pretty impressed. I want to come over and say hello to you guys. I think it'd be great to come over with our camera and make some clips of some of the stuff you've talked about, so we can show people what the zigzag machine looks like and the roller. And then next time we come on, we can show people a little bit about your farm and show some clips. I think that'd be really fantastic. What time are we at on here?
40 minutes.
40 minutes.
And we got 4 viewers.
We got 4 viewers. Hi, everybody. Say hi.
Hello. But yeah, totally. Let's do some shots at the farm. The farm's got lots to see.
Yeah.
Come out in the spring, come out in the summer, you know, it's always cool to see the plants growing and all that sort of stuff. So consider that an open door invitation for sure.
Yeah, that's really exciting. I'm not sure. Like, is there anything else out there that we can think of that might be just on the top? I know Jess is really excited about that the oils on her hair though, because she's won some of that stuff.
Oh yeah, no, the hemp oil is great on the hair, and yeah, if you want me to keep talking hemp, then I can definitely keep talking hemp. One of the things that we are hoping to also be able to sell our hemp for pretty soon is using so basically the way that the hemp stalk is structured, there is the outside, which is the long strand fiber, which is what the ropes and t-shirts of the world are made out of, and then inside there is the hurd, which is, once it's gone through the decorticator, which is the big machine that separates it, it's kind of the wood chippy bit of it. So a product that is getting a lot of buzz these days is a product called Hempcrete, which, yeah, I'm actually going to help build a Hempcrete wall in a dispensary in Calgary that's going to be opening up soon.
Wow.
So I'm going down to put some hemp into that dispensary, and I am so excited for it. And Hempcrete is amazing because it's not load bearing, so you can't necessarily build an entire house out of it just the way that it is, but all it is in its most simple form is hemp hurd, lime, and water. And so it makes a fabulous insulation. It's fireproof, which, wow, you know, really in cool. The age of the vinyl sided house is kind of a good thing. Yeah. And so the great thing about it is that it is a fabulous insulator as well. So if you build your house with it, what happens is it pulls carbon out of the atmosphere. The lime in it pulls carbon out of the atmosphere as it slowly turns to stone. So once about 100 years has passed, your house is basically permanent because it's basically made out of stone. So it's a fabulous eco material, and it's a lot more ecologically friendly than fiberglass and a lot of other things.
Yeah, and building is definitely one of the things we haven't talked about, but it's one of the huge things you can do with hemp. You know, it's not our niche, but it's like a growing niche. Hempcrete, hemp fiber board, you know, just all sorts of stuff made out of hemp. And why not? Why wait for an old growth forest to take hundreds of years to grow when you could just grow this stuff like a weed in one season? So.
Yeah, I think I even saw something come across my feed about hemp hardwood flooring. Even now is now another thing that people are starting to make is flooring and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited to see where all this goes in the future. I think we got a question from Jason who's about your oil. He wanted to know if you can cook in high temp.
Up to 250 degrees.
Yeah, we're up. 350 is the deterioration rate. 250 has been proven to be safe. So somewhere between 250 and 350 is kind of the limit, which is comparable to most olive oils. That's Celsius, so that's in the 500s Fahrenheit. And yeah, it's comparable to most olive oils, grapeseed oil, coconut oil.
Yeah, if you Google it, Google will tell you can't cook with it. But there was a study done in Germany that was actually peer reviewed and blah, blah, blah. And that one said, yes, you can actually cook with it up to this. So if you Google it and you say, oh, they were lying to me. No, Google's lying to you. It happens.
And there's a lot of information on the internet, and this is changing, but slowly, that has really downplayed the awesomeness of hemp. Hemp oil is a big one. Also just like the protein and omega factor. You know, like there's nothing that's rivaling the complete protein aspect of hemp hearts, and it's just not being talked about. So yeah, you can totally cook with it, and it's great raw because it does not solidify in the fridge like olive oil and stuff. So you can make a dressing on Monday and use it on Thursday, which is pretty cool. You don't have to use it all right now. You can save it for later, a little shake, and you're good to go. So, and lots of chlorophyll. It makes an amazing hummus. It's my favorite thing to make with it. You get a nice green color, nice nutty flavor. You don't even have to put tahini in there. It's awesome. So, yeah, experiment with it. Invite you to try out some hemp seed oil.
Yeah, man, you guys are making me hungry. Speaking of fresh hemp, you're talking about salads and stuff like that. Juicing. Do you ever juice your leaves? Have you even maybe offered about getting your leaves and produce into like a booster juice or something like that?
I would love that so much, but we would have to have so much licensing in order to do that, because even though they're hemp leaves and you could not possibly get high off of them, there is still so much regulation about them that just seems like so out of reach, which is it's too bad because a lot of people would get a lot of benefit out of it. It's incredibly good for you. A lot of people have had amazing results off of it, but it just seems so far away.
Yeah, but if you do get a chance to get some, definitely juice them or put them into salads. They can be a little bit hardy, like a kale, but just treat them like you would a kale. Cut them up, mix them with some other stuff. And there's a short season where you can get the fresh leaves. Like here, in our outdoor season, you're looking at kind of June, July. After that, the plants go into making their buds, and so the fan leaves and all that become less valuable. So definitely in the month of June, if you know somebody who's got some hemp, that's your time to juice, like literally from the plant into your body, and it's just magical. Or freeze them and do them in January too. So.
I can just picture people coming over and raiding all of your leaves and stashing them in their freezers over the course of the year now.
We're inviting you to.
Yeah, we might just do that. All right, I just want to see what's going on over here. I'll shake for the boys.
Some shake. And if you're looking for a shake, just email Levi. No. Some people do eat the buds, and you can eat the flower mass as well because it does have CB or THCA, the non-active THC element, as well as CBDA, so the non-active CBD, which through decarboxylation, which you probably know, the addition of heat, which is what happens when you put a lighter to the end of a joint. That's where you get the activation of a lot of those cannabinoids into their, in the case of THC, psychoactive form. However, THCA, the non-psychoactive version, which can be found in things like hemp as well as MJ, are good for the body and can be taken internally in form of juicing or whatever.
Yeah, one of the ways that I like to do it is when the hemp buds are big and beautiful, I chop them up and I put them on top of pizza. So if you think about, like sometime, I know, you make a margarita pizza and then you throw some hemp buds on there and you get that, especially early on, I find that the terpenes are kind of they've got that lemony.
With the balsamic drizzle.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think we could make some hemp ice cream?
Do I think you could? We should, number one.
We can do that out in the kitchen, have a little hemp cooking show.
Right?
Cooking with cannabis.
yeah.
I would love to do that. I used to cook professionally, so that's something that I'm totally more than happy to do.
That's awesome. I'm suggesting that we do a hemp cooking show in our lounge kitchen just outside.
So we're obviously going to have another episode. So we're going to see you guys again. And thanks for having us today. We're super excited to share hemp. And just like the hemp cooking, just like the margarita pizza, like experiment with the hemp. Like the hemp is just getting started. So what you can do to it is really up to the boundaries of your imagination. So we invite you to explore that for sure.
So you mentioned that you need the regulation to have an industrial or a commercial farm, but what if someone just wanted to have some hemp in their backyard or per se just so that they can juice it at home and stuff like that? How would that look as for people that wanted to do that?
Well, you could definitely have up to 4 hemp plants. It's still regulated the same way, so you could, if you want to do it completely legally, you can only have 4 still, which is ridiculous, but it's the way that it is.
And if you're into MJ and less into hemp too, you can still juice MJ leaves and take an MJ bud and put it on your pizza. The opportunity cost is a little higher, but by all means, you can do all that sort of stuff. And really, really encouraging you to play with with the hemp in all different ways. But yeah, grow one in your backyard. It's easy to grow. It'll grow between the concrete or out of a dandelion. So, give it a try and experiment. Growing it at home is a great place to start, just like people are doing in Canada with their MJ.
Yeah, that actually sounds like a great opportunity for people that don't actually smoke weed or don't want like anything to do with just regular cannabis or like smoking cannabis, but would like to try the benefits of the CBD and stuff like that and try putting it in their food is just grow regular hemp, which is actually a really cool opportunity. I didn't realize that kind of sucks that we can only have the 4 plants because they don't know the difference apparently, but Yeah, I'm hoping that'll change. Jason says that it rocks and he likes it. And then also High Swift Streams, that's a friend that we made on Twitch. He's also from Calgary. So these guys are our neighbors Swift. So you can come visit them sometimes and grow hemp with them.
Yeah, by all means, we encourage visitors out to the farm frequently. Just say when works for you, and we'll say if that works for us. Sometimes people say, hey, can I come to the farm? And then it's kind of like, well, when works for you? So just, come, propose a date. We're always out there. So yeah, we love having people.
Yeah, totally. And we're always looking to make more hempster friends. So.
Well, and a lot of people, this is actually a question that we have a lot, is it family friendly? And our answer is, hell yes, it's family friendly. We have people with kids out there all the time. Kids tend to have a blast. I've never had a kid not have a blast, so I can't guarantee it, but I feel like it's bound to happen. We've had kids help with harvest. They love it. There's not a lot of super duper dangerous stuff. We like to do a lot of co-parenting out there. So if there's lots of kids, then, we send them off with a responsible adult for an hour and then another responsible adult for an hour. There's a playground at the community center that our land surrounds. So there's even fun things like that. So yeah, we encourage you to bring your family. Some people call it kind of a family day out event type thing. So they come, they help harvest, they help process, and they bond in the meantime, which is great.
Yeah, that sounds like a really great experience and thing for local families to do and check out. It's just something to do in general. It's really exciting, and I have to tell a lot of people about that, and even people that are coming through to just go and find us, and you can go and actually even purchase your stuff right at your farm, which if you're local is even better. You don't have to wait for shipping, and you can see where it's all been made, which is pretty cool in my opinion. Again, hi everyone. We're already up to 7 viewers. That's pretty great. So there's a bunch of people watching us right now, and to our future viewers that are going to watch in on this, hello. Yeah.
Well, and thanks for joining us. We're glad that you're here wanting to learn about hemp.
Totally. And, do come out to the farm and visit us, whether that's for an afternoon or work trade for a summer. And if we're really far away from you and you're on the other side of the planet, find a hemp farm near you and go support them. We're pushing the entire hemp ball forward, and it's good for everybody. It's good for the planet if there's more hemp and more things made of hemp.
Which we still haven't talked about the eco side of hemp, which is a whole other. Oh my goodness! Holy, we haven't even gone there yet. Here I am thinking, well, what else can we talk about?
Aw, thanks for the follow.
Aw.
Yeah, who is that? I got a Caden.
Oh, hi, Caden.
Man, I'm wondering if that's. Do I know you, Caden? I'm wondering if I know this Caden. It might be my cousin. I'm curious, or if it's just a random name. We'll find out though.
Stay tuned. Is it the Caden?
Yeah.
So the eco side of hemp, because of course, there's a lot of crops that you can plant, and some of them have positive effects on the environment, and some of them have negatives. Like cotton, for example, takes tons of pesticides, herbicides, water. Hemp, one of the reasons that we decided to plant it is it very, very rarely needs to be irrigated. It is an extremely drought-hardy plant. So when it gets dry and stressed, if we remember from earlier when we were talking about what happens to hemp when it gets stressed, it just grows bigger. It says, oh, I don't care, I'm just gonna tough my way through this, and it just keeps growing bigger. What's also great about it is the roots sequester toxins from the soil. So they've actually, around like nuclear sites and things like that, where there's been spills, they've planted hemp, and the hemp absorbs the radiation from the soil and holds it, and then you remove the hemp and you also remove all of the toxic elements.
That's not the hemp we make our stuff from, just for the record.
No, ours is Fukushima free. But anyways, so they also, it also sequesters heavy metals from the soil. So if you've got areas that have been, decimated by other industrial accidents, it does that. It also pulls so much carbon out of the atmosphere. One of the things we're actually trying to figure out is a way that people can get carbon credits for growing hemp, because it takes 4 times the amount of carbon out of the atmosphere as an acre of forest in a growing season.
Wow.
I know, it's absolutely incredible. So we planted 50 acres of hemp, which is 200 acres.
No, 200.
Wait,
4 times.
yeah. 200 acres
4
of
times
forest.
and 7 times
Yeah,
faster?
yeah.
Is that how it works?
Something like that. Well, and if you can get, and you know, we're up in Alberta where it's a little bit cold, but if you go to warmer places where they can get 2 crops in a season, or maybe even 3 crops if you're going somewhere really, really warm, then that is, you know, 50 acres of hemp could be 600 acres of forest worth of carbon that you are taking out of the atmosphere, trapping in the plant, cutting down the plant so that it's not going back into the environment, and then using to make things like hemp hearts, bioplastic, biodiesel, and anything else. So it's absolutely incredible what this plant can do. So it's cleaning the soil, it's cleaning the air, and it's cleaning the people that it's interacting with.
That's really awesome. Hi, Kaden, it is you. So it cleans up stuff here in Alberta. We have an impending abandoned well issue and stuff like that for remediation from the oil industry. Do you see hemp helping and assisting with that in any way?
It definitely should be. Well, and I heard the other day a really good point that all of the tailing ponds and things like that that you know are full of all of this toxic stuff, we are basically 1 flood away from a bit of an environmental disaster with that. Hemp should be planted all the way around all of those. There should be, you know, and that hemp should not be for human consumption in any way, but that hemp can definitely hold the ground, and it can also help absorb any contaminants that might be spilling out of those ponds. So the oil and gas industry, you know, even if they're not looking at hemp as part of, you know, their regular operation, as part of their environmental processes, it should definitely be used. It's very, very effective for that.
And I know that there are some universities and some different small groups that are working on little tests and experiments of doing that. So it's already on its way, but definitely support it in your local area and encourage it when people are whining and crying about all the devastation. Hemp's a solution. Offer it up.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how many solutions this plant actually does offer to a lot of the problems that we're facing, and all that kind of stuff. I'm pretty impressed. I didn't realize that you know it can actually help clean up a lot of the problems that we're having, as well as you know produce a lot of cool stuff and even replace some of the stuff that we've been creating in a healthier way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. One of the things that I like to say a lot is that we don't necessarily need to change our lifestyle a whole bunch. Like, we should consume less. By all means, we should. But if we started making single-use plastic out of hemp, which is, people say, well, what about corn? Well, corn still uses pesticides, herbicides, irrigation. Hemp does not use any of those. It produces more biomass that can be made into more plastic. It is super duper viable. We don't have to give up our single-use plastics in a sweeping, you know, none left sort of way. We just need to make it out of hemp. And all that means is, you know, people investing in the factories to turn hemp from its raw form into, you know, into its plastic form. And once that industry is up and running, then it's game changing. We don't need to go back to living like the pioneers did. We don't need to go, and like certain things we should definitely, but we don't need to if we switch a lot of it over to hemp. And our ancestors were already doing that. I mean, we talked a little bit earlier about Henry Ford's car. He made a car out of hemp. Actually, right now, Mercedes-Benz is making some car parts out of hemp because it's lighter and it's stronger.
And Lotus Ellis as well. They have some car panels and car seats made out of hemp as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can there's pictures from 1938, the same year that it was made illegal. 1938, Henry Ford smashing this car with a sledgehammer, and it would not dent. And he was smashing it in winter, which if you're in Alberta, you know what that means. It should have been brittle, it should have broken. And it ran off of hemp diesel. And we could have that. I mean, we could have had it in 1938. We should learn from those mistakes, and we can just have it now.
Yeah, I guess we can just kind of blame DuPont for wrecking all of that on us and being a little bit greedy with the pulp paper industry there. Yeah, well, you know, can't also blame them for taking a run at that because, you know, why not? If you can, you can. But it kind of messed up a lot of things for everybody else. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us. This has been freaking awesome. Hi everyone that's joined us. We're already up to 8 viewers, so we've got a lot of people joining us already. This is pretty great. So I'm not sure exactly what else to ask you guys or talk about, so you guys should ask some questions. Do you guys over there have any questions? Do you have a question? You look like you have a question.
In, so I don't know if what I've got.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Just jump
Yeah.
in.
So I've seen hemp filament for 3D printers, but it's usually just PLA mixed with hemp, shredded hemp. It's not like true hemp plastic.
So the question is about how filament for 3D printers is being crossed with hemp and just like an actual true hemp filament. Is that a thing?
Good question. I think hemp plastic is developing and is at its infancy, so it doesn't shock me that some of the hemp stuff we might get in, 1.0 land might be, less than doable. But I think continue to invest in finding better hemp filament in this case, which eventually can be plastic and eventually can be toilet paper and everything else. But it's just an example of how it's slowly happening because this industry has been suppressed or illegal for so long. People haven't started putting money into it, and that's hopefully changing. So I hope, 6 months or a year from now, you have, 10 emails in your inbox about the best hemp filament ever. Yeah. So we're going that way.
Well, and one thing that I also want to point out with it is as the hemp industry continues to develop, like Hempcrete is a great example of this, where a year ago people were talking Hempcrete and they were saying, well, it's just hemp hurd, lime, and water. And it's like, yeah, it's cool, but it's not load bearing and it, flakes really easily and there's all of these things with it. And now people are getting more and more sophisticated with it. So people are saying, well, if you add some magnesium, then what happens? And if you add some calcium, what happens? And suddenly all of these new forms of Hempcrete are coming. And we saw a presentation this last weekend at, there was a Hemp Den event at Portage College in Lac La Biche. And somebody was talking about German stone houses, which are basically foam blocks that are made out of stone and hemp that are load bearing. So as the industry continues to develop and gets support, and support is the big thing because, if everybody ignores hemp, then hemp won't happen. But as people continue to invest in it and continue to investigate it, everything just keeps getting better and better because we know that it can be done. It's just about getting the resources, which is usually, the financial aspect. When people buy hemp products, then more hemp things happen. When I sell a hemp product at the farmer's market, I always end up by saying, thank you for supporting the hemp industry. Because it's not just the farm that they're supporting, it's the entire industry that they're supporting by helping us continue. So it doesn't really answer your question particularly, but
it does answer my question.
Oh, good.
Because you're peeling it back to the gradual, incremental increase in technology availability. Just for we need to develop this, and then this, and then this, and then we can have those things.
Exactly. And if anyone's listening out there and they have millions or billions of dollars and they're wondering what to do with it, you can take things like hemp plastic or hemp biodiesel or hemp clothing or hemp toilet paper in your area and move it forward a lot faster. So we don't have to wait for people to make a little bit of room between oil and gas and nuclear and government and all these other big players. Take some money, take some resources, make it happen because it's all available. It just needs to be stewarded by people.
Awesome. So what's next for you guys? Where do you see yourselves in the next couple of years as far as your farm and your products as well?
Well, exciting things, you might be surprised to know. So one of the things that we're really looking into for next year is joint venturing with other people who have land and spreading the hemp out to a few different locations, which could be really, really cool. So we're excited about that, getting more hemp into more places. Another thing that we are interested in for next year is our lower fields don't tend to do very well. And there's a lot of reasons, and I know why those reasons are. But what we want to do is, rather than try to keep growing hemp in a place that it's not going to want to grow as well, we're going to be planting clover there. So the hemp itself will just underseed itself. The seeds are already there from plants previous. We're going to also be planting fields and fields of red clover, and then we want to get bees, because then we will have hemp clover honey. And who doesn't want some hemp clover honey? So hopefully sometime next year, that'll be the newest thing on the table. So right now we're just pulling together resources, pulling together people. People who have already raised bees are more than welcome to contact us, because we'll definitely be needing some support on that. So those are some of the things that we're looking on to for next year.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is just getting our products out there. More people could be drinking hemp coffee and having a more gentle experience. More people could be using hemp oil instead of GMO canola, or olive oil from across the world that's refined. So support your local hemp, support our products, and that'll allow us to do more acres, more hemp, and make the hemp plastics and the hemp biodiesels that much closer. So, yeah, just moving the hemp train forward.
That's really exciting. I'm really excited to try some of that honey. First thing that comes to my mind with that is drinking the mead that honey would make.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the thought of that is just too much to handle right now.
It's coming.
It's definitely coming. So we have the new stuff coming. So there's some meaderies nearby you guys should probably even team up with. Fallen Timber's just north of us. I know Spirit Hills is down south by
Chinook is not so far
yeah,
away.
Chinook's pretty close too, and they all make really great stuff. I know Fallen Timber and Spirit Hills do make their own bees as well. So
Well, and then
talk about-
Buzzsaw as well.
Oh man, Buzzsaw! I've never even heard of them.
Yeah, are they?
Caroline.
Yeah.
Ooh, exciting! Very exciting. Well, thank everybody for joining in, and thank you guys for showing up and chatting with us and telling us all this really cool stuff. I'm really excited to see how things move forward with the farm and with M5 Hemp. 5mhemp.com. That's where you can buy all these cool products that these guys have. If you want to try them, I know I want to try them. I know some of you want to try them, so that's where you can get them. And then if you ever want to go and check out their farm, if you're ever here in the Calgary area, out in Alberta, drop them a line at New Paradigm Hempery and just come and hang out. Bring your kids, bring the family. They'd love to come and see you.
Yeah, and thanks again for having us. This has been a lot of fun. One of my favorite things to do is talk hemp. So thank you everybody who's listened to me talk hemp. And anytime, if you have any questions after the show, please drop us a line. If you want to come visit, get a hold of us. We are pretty friendly, we're pretty reachable, and we love to hear from people.
Yeah, I second that. Namaste. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. We might just, I think we're going to call her quits for today. I'm not sure if you guys want to flow at all or anything like that. No. Okay. Well, we'll just make this finish off for today. Thanks everyone for coming in. This is the Marmalade Lounge. Join us tomorrow for Wildcard Wednesday. I don't know what's happening tomorrow. No one really knows what's happening tomorrow. This is also Jess. She was behind the scenes for us today.
Thanks for being here.